So in this module, we're going to talk about the Internet of Things and big data. Internet of Things in this video, and then big data in the other video for this week. So let's look at some definition about what we mean when we talk about the Internet of Things. So of course it includes us and our mobile phone, but it includes other devices as well. So basically anything that can have an IP address and can collect digital information and then share that information over the internet is regarded as being part of the Internet of Things. So this definition here just mentions some of those most used areas. So people with pacemakers, for example, or wearable devices, but also farm animals or other various types of objects that connects to the internet. So what is a thing that we refer to in this context? Well, it can be, of course, a person with a heart monitor implant, but it can also be a farm animal with a specific type of implant that sends information about what the animal is doing back to the farmer. Or it could be a car, for that matter, that's got inbuilt sensors that lets you know that the tire pressure is low, for example, and then sends that information online, and that information comes back to the end user and let you know that you need to go and get some more air in your tires. So just on the slide here, we have some of the most commonly used different types of IoT applications. So the concept of smart farming, smart TVs, most of us have those these days, smart homes, including like thermostats or the Amazon Alexa or the Google Home devices, and smart appliances have been around for a while, such as smart fridges, various types of wearables and fitness trackers, all the way up to smart buildings and smart cities and smart cars that have inbuilt sensors in them that collects data and sends that to a hub. So increased Internet of Things applications basically means smart everything. So a variety of industries is increasingly now taking up usage of Internet of Things application. Anything from tourism to healthcare, for that matter, older care, and so forth. So and we do that because it can increase efficiency. It can help us better understand consumers because we receive all this data, and that means that we can also then potentially improve the value for the business by doing things more efficient and quicker, but also improve value for consumers by offering them what they need when they need it, based on the data that we receive. So when we're talking about IoT ecosystems, that consists of web-enabled smart devices that collects and sends and acts on data. And what we're seeing these days is that there's more and more devices connecting and interacting with each other without any need for human intervention. So here's an example of how these IoT ecosystems works. So we have devices, sensors or antennas or microcontrollers that collect the data, sends that online via their IP address to a hub or a gateway, and then that information is then analyzed and put back into consumers. So just to give a simple example, I have my smartwatch here that collects data while I'm out running, and it sends it directly to my watch, so I can see exactly if I'm running fast enough or too slow while I'm running. It also goes back to the applications, so I can look at further data on how my running goes over time from that application. And finally, all that enormous amount of data, of course, also goes into a backend system that needs to have enough storage space to deal with that vast amount of data that's coming through from that relatively small and simple device. So large businesses in particular are very interested in the Internet of Things, and Google is one of them. In 2014, they bought Nest, which developed these smart thermostats, for $3.2 billion. And of course, they did that because they want more of our data. So they want to know, have your Google Home devices, and now they know, how hot or cold you have your home, and all this data are compiled together, gives them better predictability of you as a consumer, and therefore they can use that to manipulate you further in the future. So massive shift and move towards more Internet of Things applications, particularly amongst large businesses. So the predictions here very much goes in a rapid growth sort of curve. So connected devices installed based on data from the past and the predictions from the future goes with a very rapid growth curve here. So we are likely to see in the near future more and more automation through the Internet of Things, and more things being connected to the internet. Now, I always like to take a little step back and look at what did we predict a few years back and what has actually happened. So this is a paper from 2010 about the Internet of Things, and the prediction back then, well, they were talking about the futuristic things such as the robot taxi, the smart city, and also enhanced game rooms. And when we look at what's happened recently with these VR glasses, for example, and smart monitors or smart wearables, we have pretty much moved into that space. Smart cities is being increasingly used, such as traffic monitoring systems and those type of things. And the robot taxi is already here, although of course not commercially viable, but I shouldn't say it's commercially viable. That probably is, but it's not. It is not a product that you can purchase. But the Tesla car does drive itself, and perhaps not drivers in taxis, but those operating on car sharing companies such as Uber have the opportunity to turn on the self-driving function in their Tesla. I don't think it's legal, but it is here in all sense and purposes. Now there are still technologies in sensors that does need improvement. So quite often in tracking devices, small tracking devices, we have to sort of choose between Bluetooth or GPS technology. Bluetooth has a very limited range, so if you're further away than about 100 meters, it won't work, while GPS is not very kind to the battery, and that can lead to some problems in tracking things such as if you want to track your pets or for baby monitors for that matter. So that's some things that we need to still figure out. Wearable technologies have become or are becoming increasingly popular these days, in particular in terms of smart watches and fitness or activity trackers. We like to keep track on our exercising, for example, and that is becoming increasingly popular. But also in healthcare spaces, for example, to monitor blood pressure or heart rate, it's also quite common to use wearable technology. Google did invent the Google Glass many years ago, but for some reason we as consumers were not quite comfortable with that particular product. Perhaps that's something you can write a blog post about. Why did the Google Glass fail, and is there still a market for wearable technology in form of glasses on our heads? That air-conditioned jacket has got nothing to do with it. I just love it. So let's dwell a little bit on the marketing implications of wearables. Of course, they have a much smaller screen. So first it was the desktop or the laptop, and then it became the mobile, and now it's the little one on our wrist. So if you're going to use it for pushing advertising material and those type of things, you have to think about it's it needs to be readable on a very, very tiny screen, which is not good for people with older eyes like myself. And also from an SEO perspective, just top result, that's it, rather than a full page. So these devices, of course, they are, when we wear them, they are always connected. So it's not something where it is very much time and space, as we talked about under mobile marketing, will fit into these things much more. Location specific, so that also ties into it. So these type of devices, it's very much immediate, right there in the time and the space. Of course, there's the increased opportunity for data collection. There's another device there that collects quite often also different data from what a phone does. It collects like heart rate and those type of things, and as consumers, we of course always have to be careful when we download a new app and it asks for permission to access XYZ of different types of stuff on our phone, and then you got to ask yourself the question, why does it want access to that, or does it need it to function? Most of the time it doesn't actually need that to function, it just wants it for marketing purposes from the company that owns the app. But of course there are some positives for consumers as well. We have greater access to information through these wearable devices. And of course, it is easier for us to make payments directly with the watch and also download types of certificates or whatnot, so that we can easily check in using the watch directly. So here are just some further examples of how marketers use the Internet of Things. And the big one there is the personalization. So we unlock consumers' lifestyle, as I wrote there. So you have increased access to consumers' data, which means that you can target better, because you know how people behave, and you can then target that directly. As an example here on the slide, where a US retailer had used face recognitions and stuff like that in an ad display, so that I could directly target products to consumers based on age, gender, and various types of the demographics. You also have the opportunity to offer instant services through the Internet of Things. Of course, the classic example is the smart fridge that knows when milk runs out and then goes and order it automatically. A more recent example was the alcohol delivery company Jimmy Brings. I worked with VB to produce a sort of old technology fridge magnet that you could just push, and then a slab of beer will show up. I commented on that, actually. You can have a look at that article. And of course, there's advertising opportunities by using the Internet of Things together with more traditional media. Coinbase, the cryptocurrency trading platform, had a Super Bowl ad, for example, with just a QR code that kept bouncing up and down with some creepy music in the background. And people would go in and scan that to the extent where the page actually broke down. And that also has to do with the focus that I talked about in other videos about importance of doing mobile first. Analytics and attribution is another way that marketers use the Internet of Things through things such as geofencing, where you market to people in a specific geographical location and the devices that can be found within that location, and then also various other types of predictive marketing. So ethical considerations of this obviously comes in strongly there. Is it okay to collect and know that much about consumers, so that we basically we know before they know what they are going to buy next, and therefore we can target them with an ad directly. And some are now saying that this is consumers. Now we need to fight to regain our right to our own future tense, because the businesses and the marketers through these technologies knows before we know when we will make a specific purchase. So will the Internet of Things benefit us in the long run? Just referring to a study here of experts that was done by Pew Research. And it is relatively clear that wearable and computing will continue to progress significantly in the next few years, and that the interfaces that we use will continue to advance. A few years back this paper now, so they're talking about especially in terms of voice and touch commands, but we also see things, artificial intelligence such as ChatGPT, also changing the way that we engage with the internet. The thing with the internet is that it's a truly democratic space. Everyone, and now also everything, is welcome. And as a result of that, it will keep changing and recast the relationships that we have with each other and with all other things for that matter as well. But in an increasingly data-drenched world, we do have concerns about how that will ultimately impact our privacy and our right to be in charge of our own future tense, and not be and a right to not be manipulated by businesses to buy things that we otherwise wouldn't have bought. Of course, there's also an issue with so many devices and so much technology, but actually very few people that know how to fix it. Most of the time as consumers, we just chuck it out, and then we buy new things. And that is an increasing concern further down the track when more and more stuff is coming online. And of course, then there is problems for those that are unable or otherwise unwilling to connect, that will increasingly be left out of society. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that, and next video is about big data.